Henshaw here again, the Constitutional Crisis Channel. And this is kind of current events, although not of the type that we typically discuss. But I do want you to know that just today that I have filed on behalf of a friend of mine acting as next friend a writ with the California Supreme Court sitting with the concurrent jurisdiction of a federal circuit court. Because we have gone in the last 3 years since I learned what I know now about there being no states, 5-0 in these quote-unquote traffic courts. And it's about time, and with no opposition. And the cases just get dismissed without any decision on the merits that we're raising with the issues we want decided. So this has to stop. Because they've got a sworn duty to sustain burden of proof on jurisdiction and venue, and they never do it. So this going to the California Supreme Court sitting as a federal circuit court and saying, hey, what I just said, we're 5-0 here, and if we don't know, since your sworn prosecutors won't answer us and tell us what the law is, how do we know how to instruct our representatives and or nominate and elect those who will make the changes or repeals of laws that we don't like? What does that say about the entirety of the electoral process? And what does it say about the consent of the governed, which is so conspicuously mentioned in the Declaration of Independence? It ain't there. And that's what I hope this writ does, because I'm challenging the DMV really across the board with the vehicle code. But the three statutes here are driver's license, registration, and insurance. And they can't sustain any of those. And that's going to be good news for people across the country. If we get a win here, which I hope we do. I mean, we're in a federal circuit court now. They're not in their own ballgame anymore. So we either get the win, or if they summarily deny it again, now we're going to be going to the United States Supreme Court. It's a very short trip. And either asking them to outright reverse what the court did, or order them to file it and make a ruling on the merits sitting as a judicial court, a federal circuit court. Once we get into this court, in my view, the ball game is over, because now we have a real court where they recognize our status and our rights, and we can limit the government and control it. Very soon, by the way, I've been trying to file my own South Carolina case here for redress of grievance in a local court. I'm having a hell of a time with that. I just resent it. I went down there and spoke to them a week or 10 days ago, and they claimed they never got it, using the dog ate my homework excuse. So the next day I did all the paperwork up again, sent it down there priority mail. Should have been there over a week ago, and I still haven't heard anything. So now I'm going to personally go to the Supreme Court, and I've already alerted them that I'm coming, and saying, guys, this is your fault here. If you'd taken care of business 80 years ago, 90 years, 150, we don't have this. Here I am. And this court is not filing my case against South Carolina, meaning that I have no remedy for 7 months of false arrest, extradition, and imprisonment. This cannot be how the system works, especially in my case. With the help of my friend, we set a record that proves that the charging documents were false and fraudulent before the ink was dry on them. And it's not just a matter of the money I'm going to get out of this, which is going to be a good chunk of change. It's going to be the changes that get made as a result. Because if we do strike a deal with them in South Carolina, they're going to change the way they do business. That's of more interest to me, and I'll get probably enough money to take care of me the rest of my life. But that said, once we get into these federal circuit courts, and they do exist, despite the fact that some of you might be aware that Congress tried to repeal them in 1911 and take away the circuit courts. And on the federal level, they could do that since they're not required to create any judicial courts at all. But the reason that that's true is that this concurrent jurisdiction must exist in state courts. The real good news for us is it looks like that's true in a territory as well. And I've got cases I'll be talking to you about on that subject matter. One of them is Ex Parte Crow Dog, 109 U.S. 556. That would be down below here. Ex Parte Snow, 85 U.S. No, Snow v. United States, 85 U.S. 317, where the court in effect said that a federal territorial tribunal has concurrent jurisdiction like this. And this is where I expect to beat these bastards across the board and make it right for all of us and make it easier for you to get in there and not have to expose yourself to taking chances and taking great risk And if the case is already decided, all you have to do is walk in and follow what I'm doing here. So that's the other thing that's going on with the way of current events here. And I'll get back to you when I hear about these things one way or another. You might, with a little luck, though, read about them in the Washington Post first or the New York Times. Constitutional crackpot, defeats DMV or what have you. You can just see that one coming, because that's what's going to happen. Because all of what they're doing is wrong. And I'm standing up and saying, wait a minute, you can't do any of this. It just doesn't work this way. And we have a right to do that. You'll hear me in a video later on a case called Cohen, C-O-H-E-N-S versus Virginia, 6 Wheaton 264. Best case I've ever seen from the Supreme Court, 200 years old almost. And it talks about a lot of things that you'll be shocked to hear, and certainly weren't taught to me when I was in school 50 years ago. But you understand Cohen's, and you know what the Founding Fathers did for us and what the Revolution did for us, and how much power we have as, in effect, beneficiaries of the trust known as the United States, while we're dealing with trustees, otherwise known as judges, prosecutors, this, that, and the other. Beneficiaries tell them what to do, not the other way around. That simple statement figures to free all of us here. That's my raison d'etre, and I hope I see it through to the finish. At my age, I don't know at this point. I got hopefully a good 10 or 15 years left. If I do, well and good. But I'll certainly put you on the path where you can finish the job.